Hello. I have not had a productive week and I don't have an excuse. I don't have a reason. I mean, I was working. They do make me do my job sometimes, which is rude. But, you know, things just didn't get done for whatever reason. So I haven't got a lot of progress on the thing that's on the big loom. I'll show you how that's going in a second. I did get this wet finished and ready to show you. But before I show it to you, I've got a little bit of footage of the fringe twisting process and also the wet finishing process because Kerry last week asked for some explanations. So I'll show you fringe twisting and wet finishing. So this is how I twist my fringes. I have a fringe twister. It's just alligator clips that can spin. And then I clip my alligator clips onto the end of the fringe. Now you can use your fingers to do this. You can use an electric hair braider. I don't get along with either of those methods, so I use my little alligator clip deal. It's a bit rickety, but it works because I got it quite cheap. So then you twist the thread or the yarn until it's tight, or as tight as you want it. And then you hang on to the ends while you unclip and tie a knot to hold that twist. If you don't tie a knot, you lose the twist immediately because then it twists back around on itself, and that's what holds the twist in the fringe. And there's my dog, because the next step you have to do is pat the dog. Once you've checked your knots, pat the dog. She's very helpful. Now for wet finishing, for this one I had some cool water with some wool wash. Now because this is wool, I didn't want to use hot water, and I don't want to use really rough agitation because it will felt. So instead I'm just gently shifting it around in some cool water with wool wash, and then once it's had a bit of a soak in there, I will rinse it off, which I didn't record, and then spin it in the washing machine, which I do. I don't know if you're supposed to, but it helps, and then hang it up to dry. But this is basically just some gentle agitation to get the water and soap into the fibres without it all felting up together. So once I've rinsed everything and spun it in the washing machine, I air dry. So I have a clothes drying rack, one of those flat ones with multiple bars that you can dry your clothes on. I'm helpful. I throw a towel over that and then I lay things flat on that. And if they're too wide to hang flat on it, I just fold them over on themselves a little bit like that, just so that there's no weight. Because if you hang a woven piece, it can stretch out of shape because of the weight of the wet wool. I've never had it happen, but I'm paranoid that it will, so I don't hang my weavings. Some people do, and they're allowed to. I'm not going to stop them. This is how it's come out though. So there is more texture now that it's been wet finished. This is the warp float edge, side. So you can see that darker zigzag pattern on there. And then I've got on the warp float side, oops, going so well, there we go. The zigzags there of the colour. Now it has changed the weave structure slightly. I'm wondering if I can show you a little example a bit close up. So it's pulled some of the threads into sort of little diamondy shapes, and that's given me a sort of a very slight mesh effect. But I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with how it's come out. I'll show you the whole length, like this. So that is done and done. I haven't decided yet. I have not untangled the fringe after wet finishing, so well done me. Let's see if the other fringe is working for what I want to talk about. Yes, it is. So I haven't decided if I'm going to trim off the little fuzzies yet. I usually do, but I think in this case I might leave them because they're very soft and they're sort of nice to play with while you're wearing a wrap. So this one is for me. This one's not going to go up for sale at any point. I say that like I've got an online shop. I haven't. That's my plan for this year, but I don't know if I'll get to it. But that is how it's come out. I'm really happy with it, and I'm excited. Now, on the big loom, very little progress. I am just going to show you a photograph because it's not worth setting up the camera. So this is how it's looking. It's not, you know, I haven't really I don't think I've advanced it. It's fine, it's not difficult, it's just time consuming and I've been putting it off. So I've clearly been putting it off so much that I'm simply not doing it. So you can see the mistakes if you have a good look. You're welcome to look at my mistakes, I don't mind. Deciding if I'm going to fix them or go with it once I get it off the loom, but it's not going to be off the loom for a long while yet because I don't know how long I warped this up, but it's considerably longer than this. So we'll see how I'm getting on with it next week. Maybe I'll have a burst of productivity. You might be able to guess from the slightly awkward way I'm standing that I do have my little loom with me because there is something on it for a change. Now yesterday I warped it up with some of this. I'm going to show you that. And I thought this would be a really interesting weave, and it would have been. And I warped it all up and then found, because this is polyester and mohair, And then I found it was absolutely unworkable on the loom, because these little mohair tufts, you see this innocent looking little tuft, they tie themselves in knots with the ones next to them. I'm not joking, I had knots in this, not just like stickiness, but tangles and knots. I couldn't advance the warp to even start weaving once I'd tied it off to the front bar. I'm just doing this because I've only got one hand. I'll just drop it, it's fine. So I gave up pretty much immediately, cut it off the loom, and then thought, well, I want something simple and plain that I can just do when I'm procrastinating on the big loom, which is going to be happening a lot. So here is what is on the little loom. Slow down, let the words happen before they come out of your face. So this is a plain weave. It's a metallic finish. It is Henrik Eriksson or Annika Eriksson. Annika Eriksson, I think, Frost from Spotlight. And it is sticky. This one's sticky. I have used this yarn before and it wasn't sticky. This is really sticky, and I don't know, I'm sure I've used this colourway before. I know that the pink and purple one wasn't sticky. I'll tell you why it's sticky, because you can see there's a little halo of wool around the core yarn, and that hangs on to the piece next to it. So when you change the heddle position, particularly into the down position, are you going to go? Are you going to go? There we go. You might be able to see, oh, it's not doing it. Oh, it is sort of doing it. The threads hang on to the one next to them, so you can't, it's a little bit difficult to get a nice clear run through there. It's doable. I'm just picking up threads with my shuttle as I go through. I have got some floats. I'm just letting them happen because this is my simple sit down and do it project without too much thinking. It's just stickier than I was expecting it to be. It's going to be worth it. The weft is Bendigo Woolen Mills Classic 5-ply, which I had bought for something else and it turned out to be not quite the right colour. But it's good for this because it's thinner than the metallic. So the metallic yarn is really taking centre stage on that, because that is thicker and therefore more visible. And because this isn't actually a pure black, this is more of a charcoal fluff. Yeah, we'll go with that. So the charcoal colourway is working really well. And this is also another question that I had, which was about hem stitching. And I've done that along there, but I realise that's quite hard to see. So I'm going to put my little loom down and we'll talk about hem stitching with this one because you can see it a bit better. Just 1 second. And back, no time at all. So, hem stitching. This video is going to be a little bit long, quite waffly, I'm afraid, never mind. So you can see there maybe there's a line of stitching along the edge of the wrap, and that is hem stitching. So when you have something on the loom, which this was originally, if you don't secure the end somehow, when you take it off the loom, it will start to fall apart pretty much immediately. So all of the weft threads will start to shift down the warp, and you'll have it falling apart at the ends. So there's a few things you can do to stop that from happening. You can, as you're cutting it off the loom, you can take a pair of fringe ends, tie them in a knot so that you have a little row of knots hard up against the weaving, and that will keep everything in place. You can take your fringe and weave it back into the piece. You can sew along there, cut it all off and then do a hem, or you can hem stitch. So this is just, there's a lot of different ways to do it. The way I do it ends up looking different on each side. So there's the one side, and then on the back or the front or the other side, we've got some little X's there, and that just holds everything in place. And that's done with the weft thread. So when I start weaving, I leave a big long tail, about 5 times the width of the piece, which is a little bit longer than I need, but I'd rather have a little bit too much than not quite enough. And then I use that tail to hem stitch so that when I cut this off the loom, it's all just going to stay in place and not fall apart on me. But that is what I have for you this week. Not much this week. Maybe next week something will have happened. I don't know. I don't want to overpromise. All right. You take care of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time, and bye for now.